more than we had the year before. We have some returning. We've had some people who've been there all 6 years, and they still come back because there's something new they feel like they can get out of it. But about 85% of everybody there, it was their very first time there. And it was family members and staff from communities. They had over 40 organizations represented, both facilities, but also day and family members and community members. So we did that. And then at the end of the day, the sponsoring member had me in their building. And so that took a little longer to get across town because they're doing construction on what's called the freeway. And there is no free nor way across Evansville at this point. So you get to sit in traffic for quite a ways. So you're going 12 miles, but it will take 45 minutes to do it. So that took a bit longer than anticipated. So that meant that my session took longer than anticipated. So I just finished up. So rather than find a place that had Wi-Fi, I'm sitting in a parking lot near where I was, because they didn't have Wi-Fi that I could use because they didn't have much of a signal in their building. So I'm near a Wendy's in Evansville, which is fine. It's not a problem, but I'm not sure we'll be able to do this for an hour and a half. It will both depend on how much power I have in the laptop and whether my Wi-Fi signal maintains itself. So anyway, we're here. We wanted to check in and see what kind of questions people had. We do have a little bit of time to do some questions. And then what we were going to propose is later this month, we'll give you another shot at it. We'll do like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. And then later this month, I'll get to you from Australia. And maybe I'll have a few pictures or something to tell you about while I'm over there. And we'll connect ourselves up later in the month. And anybody who wants to be there, we'll invite you back. So that's sort of the story. That's my story. It's been one of those days. Just what you think is going to happen happens, but not quite when you think it's going to happen or how you think it's going to happen. So you're flexible. So it's all good. So Corey, I'm going to turn it back over to you to ask questions because you're the queen of asking questions.
Well, I wanted to check and see if we've got anybody in the Zoom room that has a question that they want to ask Teepa first.
Oh, Lynn does. Cool.
Hi, Teepa. This is Lynn. I just wanted to make a follow-up comment to the last webinar. The suspenders are great.
Yay!
Yeah, we haven't figured out the bathroom stuff yet, but I mean, from the suspender standpoint, it's working great, and now he can wear more clothes. So, yay!
Well, congratulations, Lynn.
Yay.
That's huge. So what we did is help think outside the box. And once we gave up the box we were trying to shove him into, and they quit doing that, all of a sudden, possibilities opened up. Well, congratulations and congrats to you for pushing that through. Nice work. Yeah, super cool. Yay! So keep us posted on the next piece, which is looking at the bathroom and thinking about the shower as a urinal. Next step, build a urinal. Huh. Cool.
Thank you.
Sure, good. Anybody else have a thought or a question or a comment about life in general that you'd like to lay out there for us to take a look at in the Zoom room? Dallas has got something. Dallas, I saw you posted recently, so go ahead. I'm curious.
Yeah, that's why the question was, I was curious to what your thought was around the idea that there are 5 or 6 at least personality, superpowers, whatever you want to call it, that are not affected by dementia at any stage, at any dementia. And call it dumb stuff if it is, include music, artistic expression, spiritual joy, being able to read tones of voice, maybe one more sense of humor.
Yep.
And I haven't seen anything that would contradict that, but I bet you might have some. I'm just looking whether I'm fishing in the wrong pond.
No, I don't think you're fishing in the wrong pond at all. I think what people have that people who don't have dementia totally miss is what parts are preserved and what parts are not only preserved, are enhanced by this condition. Because I think when you
took it another step. Yes.
Yeah.
I would have said enhanced, but it was a little chancy.
A little fancy for you. Yeah, I know you're a down to earth kind of guy. But yeah, I think because you only have tone of voice to go by sometimes because you can't catch the words,
right?
You're much more tuned into the tone of voice. And somebody may think, oh no, I wasn't being like that. I mean, that's not right. And what we can't hear in our own voices sometimes is that tone, because we're so intent on delivering the words, we don't hear how the words sound when we're delivering them, or how we even look when we're delivering them. And so we miss what you pick up on.
So, am I overstating the implications of the theory? Meaning, like, it would seem to me that as important as the professional outlining, you know, the future and the symptoms and the Mendas and all that sort of stuff, how important would it be for folks that are diagnosed to identify one of their superpowers so that, you know, they can really like rev it up and get it in, you know, put it all together, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think you're a great example of deciding that humor was going to be something you were going to use, and you were going to use it to survive and to thrive. And I think what you've chosen to do with yourself is when you can't figure out the humor, you pull yourself back and give yourself some space to see how you can get back to the humor. Because, I mean, you're a great example of someone who's living with dementia, who's chosen humor when you can over frustration and anger. And you choose to pull yourself back rather than lunge forward sometimes, which could be easy to do, but that's not your choice. I mean, your choice is to use your superpower of finding the humor in it. But it sometimes means you have to pull back for a while before you can find that humor.
I'm not sure what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. So like recently you were in the hospital and you wrote a sign for them that basically said, quiet, please. You know, basically it was a try to keep the noise level down.
Yeah, I'm a dementia dude.
Yeah, I'm a dementia dude. Please keep the noise level down. It didn't seem to do any good. You were like, and when you said something about it, they were like, yeah, but you got dementia. And it's like, I know. So my perspective was, I mean, I'm trying to give you data here, guys, of what would help me. And so the really funny part was you could see that they weren't getting it, and sort of rather being, I mean, I'm not sure about my superpower when I get dementia. It may be, it may be interesting.
Come on. You know what it is. Come on. You, first of all, you're funny, but I think I've never seen you have more joy than when you're singing.
It's true. That's all true. But I can see if somebody kept telling me, don't sing, I'm not sure I would be joyful. And I might, you're absolutely right. I might go, so how are you liking me talking to you? Does it make you want to choke me too? You know, I mean, I have that kind of attitude. So it's super annoying.
Yeah, there you go.
Teepa, your volume was cutting out on us.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yeah.
So I probably blew the speakers out of my system, maybe. I don't know.
Uh-oh. It's back now.
Yeah. So I was screaming, but I was screaming like with rhythm. And so you're right, Dallas. But see, I would have that little edge to me, which people would identify as being ugly to you, but it was just simply my superpower, if you would, saying, you know, I got you, and, you know, I'm not appreciating your feedback, and I don't have the ability to use language and articulate anymore. So I'm just going to nail you with what I got.
Yeah. While I got it.
Well, I got it is right. And so that would, of course, be perceived by people without dementia as being really a pain in the butt. And it's like, yeah, guess what? You started it. I was okay until you were being ugly to me about my singing, kind of thing. And of course, we don't think of it that way. The non-dementia people think they're the bosses of things and what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, I know. It's sort of a pain.
Last quick one, and I'll shut up, is am I overestimating the implications of this superpower thought?
How do you perceive you could use it? And I guess that's, how can we use it?
Well, from a narrow perspective, you could put it on one of those dementia cards so that people like understand what your gifts are. And also from a point of view of the occupational therapy sort of stuff, and what and the whole philosophy that you get dementia and it's over, and the fun's just beginning, man.
Yeah, and I think so. What you're saying is there's a lot more moments of joy. There's also a lot. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot more moments where you feel threatened suddenly, when before you wouldn't have been threatened, but now it feels threatening. So that's a side to know too, but there are for sure more opportunities for sheer joy because you're not worried about some of the stuff. So Lauren is a great example of getting me to go on the mighty roller coaster of hell in Las Vegas, the New York roller coaster, which states clearly on it, do not put your fingers in here. And you're thinking, well, why would that become an issue? And then you're on the roller coaster and you understand exactly why that would be an issue and why you should not wear your glasses because they'll be ripped off your face by gravity. and that it says clearly while you're standing in line, people with neurological deficit should not go on this ride.
It does.
So what's it going to do? You have a neurological deficit. It's not like so it's going to make it worse. I doubt it.
Right.
It's like, you might have a seizure on this ride. Yeah, you might have a seizure walking on the street too. So it's interesting how we want to create safety nets when there is no safety. But
this is a pillow. But this the superpowers are a pillow full of fluff that you can land on, and we don't go there either. We don't tell anybody about
exactly.
The pillows.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you because Lauren, you would agree you had a great time on that roller coaster ride, right? You had a great time on it. Did you hate the roller coaster ride?
She's just being difficult. I don't even have to see her to know. I love you, girl.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the baby, so I'm very sorry to say.
Oh, you could care less about us. You're really scoped into the baby. Yeah, forget the roller coaster.
But I do have since Dallas mentioned it, I have a superpower.
Yes, you do.
My superpower is my ability to fly.
And how do you do it? In your head? Or what?
This would be discussed at a later time. I'm going to over to you. I really just want to watch the baby.
We're not nearly as entertaining as that baby is. Braden is definitely a hot topic.
I think if you want to learn more about Lauren's ability to fly, you're going to have to come to the PAC conference in North Carolina in November. Mm-hmm. And if you're interested in that, there's more information on teepasnow.com.
Yeah,
that is all.
And Dallas will also be there with his superpowers. So we will have people living with dementia actually presenting at the conference and sharing at the conference and being part of the conference, because that's what we're here for, is for family members, certainly, but also for people who are living with dementia with various abilities and those gifts. All right. Anybody else in the Zoom room have any questions that they're dying to sort of like put out there, explore? Mickey has something. What's that, Mickey? Oh,
hang on just a second. I promised Chelsea that she could go next.
Oh, I'm sorry. I let Corey say she was in charge and then I took over. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we'll do Chelsea and then Mickey, you can ask your question and we'll go from there.
There you go. Go for it, Chelsea. Oh, you're muted. So you're probably asking a really good question and we can't hear it.
that better?
That'll do her.
I have a question. We have a resident at my work. She's probably like a Ruby right now. But how do you stimulate somebody that is so far gone, like doesn't have, she can walk, she can't really have a conversation with you. She's, getting into things all the time. She's,
So she's not really social. So one of my questions would probably be for somebody did she used to be really social? Or has she always been sort of somebody who enjoyed objects and activities more than people? If you think back about her.
I think she did a little bit of both.
What kind of people did she like to be around, and what did she do when she was around people versus what kind of things did she like to do, and what did she used to do around objects and props before the dementia got to a place where it was hard for her to do almost everything that she used to do physically or socially?
I really don't know a lot about her.
Okay.
But just from what I can see, her husband keeps telling me she was a very sweet lady and, was very, very sociable.
So she responded socially. I wonder whether she initiated socially. Was she somebody who, if you invited her a party, she would always come, or was she somebody who organized and held parties so people could get together? Because it turns out there's a big difference in those people. Yeah, because some people don't mind coming to a party and they'll be really great guests, but they wouldn't want to organize and host a party. And some people really like that part of bringing people together, and they're an initiator. So it could be she was okay going to parties, but she also spent a good part of her time not with people, doing things by herself. And they're thinking about things she used to do. So the next question you may or may not know, what kind of rhythm or music is her favorite? Have you picked up on any kind of music or rhythm that she seems to like?
She likes the old, like Roll Out the Barrel, those kind of songs.
So she likes polkas. Does she like music that you could march to, like John Philip Sousa, or would she like something that has
a smile on her face? Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd say is what she still has is rhythm and what she still has is music. So one of the things to think about, rather than trying to engage her with language or that kind of social interaction, there's a term we use when we're working with people who have either developmental disabilities or we're working with people who are coming back from a fairly profound loss, like having had a head injury. And it's called, what you do is you do mirroring. So you come alongside them and you actually do something alongside them, but you don't ask them to do it with you. You simply demonstrate to them what you're going to do with objects or with rhythm. And so you come alongside and you go, dum da 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 dum 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 da dum. And then as I do that, I start to observe her to see what she's doing. And I might also pat the tabletop, or I might have an object that I move. And then I might do like a wand with basically ribbon or something on it, back and forth to the rhythm. And then pass it to her and see what she does with it. Might also try dancing with her, because there's a high probability she dances even better than she walks.
Yeah.
And become her partner in it rather than asking her to come and be with us. Because her superpower, as Dal said, her ability is more in the line of rhythm and automatic than thought and activity the way we think of it. So moving with a rhythm is likely to draw her eye. And if I've taken newspaper and opened it up and ripped it from top to bottom and made very happy sounds while I was ripping the newspaper down. And you have to get it with the right grain or it doesn't rip right. And then I go, oh, and then I do it again. And then I go, oh, and then I'd hand her half torn paper and I'd pull away from her with it, and then we together go, oh, and then I see if she can do it. And we're ripping paper together, which for people on the outside may seem purposeless, but for her, she's actually possibly using bilateral upper extremities, both hands, to do something. We're also doing it together. She's following my lead. She's engaging with me, and I can say, yeah, that was fun, huh? Let's do it again. And I'll tell you, the other thing it does is it allows me to have some fun with her rather than just seeing her as somebody who has to get something. I have to get something done with her. And my expectations are much less. And so she can fulfill my expectations, and I like her a little bit more, and she likes me. And then that possibility for more exists. It doesn't exist if I don't find a way that she can like me and I can like her. And that's the tricky part, is finding what she still likes about me. And so rhythm is the big connector. And so is physical expression. Hey, ooh, Braden. And you can see it also with Braden. I mean, when we have Braden playing there, he's really strong and really fast, and he can take things apart, but not in the same way I can take things apart, but he can tear things apart. But he's really fun when he's fun, and when he's screaming, he's not so much fun. And so figuring out ways that he doesn't scream, but he has fun, that's what's really important. So yeah, the tricky part with her is her repertoire is limited, but what repertoire she has probably isn't language at all. And so the hard part is having her husband let go of the language.
There's a lady at my husband's facility that very quiet, and she was a kindergarten teacher, but she's taken to standing aside at the dining times, and then after the residents have gone elsewhere, she will actually clean the tables.
Yep.
She has found that is something she wants and enjoys doing, so it gives her purpose, because generally everything is done for you when you're at a facility, and
Good job.
yeah, it's a job. So even if it's a small job, it's helpful.
Yeah, and even if when she does it, if she doesn't do it exactly well, it's really important to say, Lynn, thank you. Oh, wow, you did a fantastic job. Here, could you wipe this for me?
Right.
Wiping is something people late in the disease can still do. And it feels good. When you wipe something, you're putting tension and pressure through the palm of your hand onto a surface. And I may have to show that a couple times, but then wiping is something she can do. And that actually feels pretty good too. So there's all kinds of things we can do on a tabletop once we let go of manipulation and work with big hands. But it means letting go of what we're thinking to go with what the other person's thinking. Yeah. So there you go, Chelsea. Mickey, you had a question?
Well, I'm more of an overwhelmed woman right now.
Okay.
My husband's incontinence has just gotten to the point where I'm getting up every 2 hours during the night. And so today we went to the urologist, and now we need to straight cath 4 times a day. And then because of his diabetes, they put the free Libra sensor on his arm, and he needed to tear that off. Well, now we have that back in place, and his blood sugars are dropping to like 50s in the night. And I've started him in a daycare, which he absolutely loves, and gives me from 7:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 days a week.
Cool. How are they doing with his incontinence, Mickey?
He wears plenty of padding, and he knows enough that when he goes in the bathroom, he can change.
Okay.
What we've noticed is the volume of urine at night.
Yeah.
I tried the condom calf on him one night. Oh, that's a laugh.
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
It stayed on, and in 6 hours, he had 1,800 cc's of urine.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that happens, and we don't think so much about it, is when we are supine, our kidneys perfuse better.
Okay.
And when everything else is not being distracting, our bodies actually go inside and do more homework. And that means the circulation, I've elevated my legs. So all the pulling that I had in my lower body below the level of my heart is now coming back into play.
Yeah.
And so all that fluid had been retained, and now it's available for processing. I couldn't get it up to process it earlier in the day because I've got my legs below my heart, and the venous return is not good enough. So when I get supine, or at least close to, all of a sudden all that fluid's available. So he is putting out not only urine from his kidneys, but all that fluid that had been, hanging out in his lower body.
Yeah.
So the question I wonder about, is there a time during the day that you could get him in a recliner with his feet well above, or will he not tolerate that?
I have tried that in the afternoons. If I look at his feet and legs, he certainly doesn't seem to be having any retention of fluid. But I have tried, and usually it lasts a few minutes, and then
Yeah, it's not long enough.
Then he's done. He is active, and that's the other thing. We had him reevaluated at the neuropsych department on Monday. And they said, keep him active, keep him engaged, keep him social. I'm getting exhausted with his socialness.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not nearly requiring the social contact he does.
No.
You need some down solitary time where you're not having to be social, even with him. You need some quiet, private time for Mickey, because you're just not getting any.
Yeah.
Particularly, you're not getting any rest at night either. I mean, which is not healthy for you.
No.
And
do you think that, say, my thought was tonight, maybe 3 a.m., just get Catham?
How well he tolerated it? I mean, I am a little concerned about how alert and aware at night he is, and how well he tolerated at night. Do you think
he actually was able to cath himself?
Okay.
Doctor's office, and once tonight at home.
Okay.
So that's one thing about him. He never fights me.
Okay.
Or anything. He'll mumble and grumble, but he tolerates it quite well.
Okay. Then I would say I would give it a shot and see how much comes out at 3 a.m. Because it's certainly, if he's having a hard time releasing in a structured way, then he's probably retaining, and then it's dribbling, flooding like crazy. So thinking about, and I agree with you, I doubt that it's a UTI. That's a lot of volume. I just think it's a lot of volume. And I'd say, his diabetes isn't making it better for sure.
No.
How thirsty does he stay?
He doesn't.
Okay.
If he pours a glass of water, and so it usually just sits in the cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
So,
unless you prompt him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Have you tried putting like a gallon of water in the fridge, or a gallon of water, and whatever fluid he takes, you monitor how much is actually going in?
I have a water bottle that I look at that. And
is that all fluids or just water?
That's just water.
Okay, so we're talking about all fluids.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you have a better handle on how much fluid he's bringing in overall, because it's more than just the water, really looking at how much fluid is going in. Sharon or any other nurses on the group here, do you have any other thoughts that, because that's my main thought, is let's get a handle on the fluid in. Because I'm curious about how much is really coming in that we may be missing. And so he is actually overloading a little bit, but we don't notice it because his drinking of free water is so low, unless you prompt him, but he's getting in a fair amount of fluids otherwise.
So what would you think are the other sources?
Well, you've got any other drinks, of course, and then you have food items that are high in fluid. But he also, because of the diabetes, may be doing something a little funky with the fluid.
Yeah, that's my thought. That's my thought.
Yeah, and with his blood sugars running all over the map, and you just be chasing those. I'm not sure. I think it's the nighttime elevation and the nighttime relaxation and the nighttime stuff. And so the other question is whether or not, and I think we might have talked about this at some point, is it possible to get a helper for you at night so you can get some sleep and he gets care?
I think that's a possibility. I was hoping that maybe trying the cath care of it, you know.
I mean, you could certainly give that a shot. That's the other thing I would start thinking about, though, is getting him some support at night so you can actually take a break.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to sleep. You do. I mean, you don't have dementia and you don't need to be waking up to do a fine motor coordinated high intensity task.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to let you actually get good quality sleep. And it means you're exhausted most of the time.
Yeah. Just thinking on what you said about lying down and the fluid, he usually goes to bed around 10. And I've noticed that often at midnight or quarter after I would get him up, and that's when he would be wet.
Yep.
Maybe I need to cath him earlier than 3.
I would say you might want to try at 11:30.
Yeah.
Because in the first half hour, the hour and a half, that might be a really critical time. And that's sort of before you get into deep sleep time.
Yeah.
So that might not be as bad for you to try
if I could get to sleep then after 11:30 and sleep till 7 o'clock, I would be doing pretty good. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Without having to do laundry forever and ever and ever.
I know.
Because that'll wear you out, the heartbeat.
Yeah. I think someone needs to write a book of practical things for caregivers at home.
Yeah.
Where do they get supplies? Where do they go for things? Because it's just not out there.
No. And it's also on top of everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were just the only thing you were doing is figuring out where to go get supplies, that's one thing, but you've got to fit it in with everything else you're trying to do. Like, where do you find this particular thing that you're wanting me to do or use because physician's offices are often, well, this is what you're going to want and you can do this. And it's like, okay, where do I get that? Well, you could go to the pharmacy, ask them. If they don't know, they might be able to. It's like,
No.
Just give me an answer. That's what I'm looking for.
When this is over, I'm writing a book.
Go for it, Mickey.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mickey, I think there are a lot of people out there that would support you in that.
Yeah.
It's the practical stuff.
Yeah. It is the practical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for how did it feel for you. That's fine.
I think that's the part about people having to be honest about the situation they're in.
Yeah.
And sometimes they think it's unfair to the person they're caring for when it's the person they're caring for really doesn't care at all. It's for the health of the caregiver to know what resources are available.
Right. I mean, you need that, just like the person needs you to know that, but you need it and you don't have time to go find that stuff out.
No.
So you're struggling in two fronts. You have somebody in need beside you who doesn't realize maybe that that's what you need. And you're trying to go find something while you're trying to keep an eye there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Corey, you got anything else going on?
Actually, Teepa, I was going to say that I think now might be a good time for us to go ahead and cut things a little short. For those of you who joined us late, Teepa has been training all day and she got stuck in horrible traffic this afternoon and needs to get dinner and go have some rest time. So we're going to
actually driving, but she will get to go drive for 2 hours to Carbondale, Illinois from Indiana.
Right. So we're going to get her where she needs to go, hopefully before midnight.
I just have one comment. I wonder what the people in the Wendy's parking lot think about this lady who's singing at the top of her lungs. You're lucky you're not being arrested.
Well, there's also a possibility.
Wait, so I have to ask, because we were kind of placing bets on the back end of things. What parking lot are you in, Teepa?
Oh, I'm in the Wendy's parking lot.
It's Wendy's. Okay. We were seeing the cars drive by. I said it was Popeyes. We also had Panera and Starbucks. So
Yeah, I was looking for Panera's because they have good Wi-Fi. I would thought Wendy's would have Wi-Fi, but I went inside really quickly. Wendy's didn't have Wi-Fi, so I just went out to the parking lot because there was no Wi-Fi in Wendy's. It's really disappointing.
well, here's what we're going to try to do is see if we can find a time to do this again a little later in the month. But we appreciate everybody that joined us today. And if you've got questions that we didn't get to, you can email them to us at communications@teepasnow.com. We will put them on the list and try to get to them in one of the upcoming sessions. We can also connect you with one of our consultants who can get together and schedule some time to chat with you about the specifics of your situation and help you try to figure some things out. And you can do that by sending an email to consult@teepasnow.com, or you can hop over to our website and do a live chat with us there, and we'll get you connected to some folks who can give it a try. Teepa, anything else you want to say?
No, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I'm hoping to see folks again when we get together. We'll send out the notice and let everybody know when it's going to be. Probably while I'm in Australia. So you'll get to see it from the other side of the world where it's winter. So that'll be interesting. Thanks everybody for checking in and coming in, and hope to see you again soon. Thanks for being flexible.